Hey there, and welcome to Recruiting Masters Podcast, Episode 20, Part 1, brought to you by the CFC Insider. I'm Katie Burt, Content Manager for CanadaFootballChat.com, alongside Clint Uttley, Lead Analyst and Head of the CFC Scouting Bureau, and a former U Sports Head Coach. Hi Clint, how are you?
Hey Katie, I'm good. School has ended, the sun is out, so I'm really good.
You're going to be recharging your batteries now and for the next couple months, but...
Yes, I'm going to recharge my batteries as much as I can at home over the next week or two before we get off onto some other things.
Clint, today's topics, we're going to be talking about the types of NCAA offers slash scholarships, full rides, partial rides, walk-ons, committable, non-committable, everything under the sun, it seems. Plus, we've got our top prospects, which these next two podcasts, so this is part one, we're going to be talking about junior college and U Sport players in both, so you'll want to tune into both of these episodes, and then finishing off with Offer That Guy. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter @ChatFootball, Instagram CFC_football, and YouTube. You can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel so that we can increase the features that come along with increased subscriptions. And most importantly, don't forget to sign up for your exclusive CFC Insider membership today. Just hit the subscribe button for access to rankings, analysis, and the daily football recruiting news that we bring to you from across Canada. So Clint, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about, or let's talk about this NCAA offer scholarship madness that's going on right now. But Twitter is just a flood with all glory to God, and I'm so blessed, and I've got this offer and that offer, and nobody really knows what exactly they actually have been offered. So technically, there's the full ride scholarship, partial scholarships, preferred walk-on, recruited walk-on, unrecruited walk-on, and then we have some other non-technical terms that are really being thrown out: committable offers, non-committable, camp offer. We had a new one this past week, the silent offer, which I'm not really sure what that means, but Clint, just give us your general take on the landscape of what the heck is going on right now.
I think it has a lot to do with, over the course, so say we take this back to 2016, or even before that, most likely, schools started mass offering kids. For example, TCU, Texas Christian University, in 2016, according to 247 Sports, they offered 146 different student athletes in an effort to sign 22 of them. So, and I think it's just slowly ramped up more and more and more over the last few years. And it's like an entire strategy that's tied into this thing. And it's just like, say if you're a fast rising prospect and you're a 2-star, became a 3, a 4, a 5-star, whatever, I think if they've evaluated you and they really like you, they're going to give you a committable offer, which would be a full, then there's other offers which are, they like what they see on film and you won't go to their camp, or you didn't go to their camp, so they'll give you a non-committable offer. And basically that puts you on the big board with all these other prospects, and it's like, okay, so Katie Burt is our number 3 defensive end on our board. There's 2 defensive ends in front of her. Okay, so she has a non-committable offer, but the 2 in front of her can commit. And as soon as one of them commits, we'll just tell everybody else they're just out of luck. And if the 2 defensive ends, who would have to be really good defensive ends to be in front of Katie Burt, okay, if they turn down the offer from that school, now all of a sudden, whatever school was recruiting them comes swooping in with that used car salesman charm and tells Katie, hey, Katie, that non-committable is now a committable. You should take it. All right, so those are like committable and non-committable camp offers. From what I understand, and from a couple of experts we got to see, not too long ago, it's basically these kids who are these whatever starred prospects, 2, 3, 4, 5-star prospects. They honestly will not go to a major college camp unless they have an offer. So I guess that's some kind of agreement where, hey, Jimmy, I'm going to give you an offer. You can say you have an offer for me, but you better come to camp and back that up, or there is absolutely no offer. But at least at that point, Jimmy splashes all over his Twitter, Instagram, whatever, swipe right, swipe left, I don't care, and says he's got an offer from all these schools when in fact he doesn't. However, that will stimulate traffic from the other schools or the schools that are a tier down to now jump in the game and make an offer. So he may use his camp offer, which is absolutely meaningless, in an effort to get a committable offer from a school at a school that's not as big. So it's just so murky, and it's just so like, I'm just scratching my head. I understand it's the way the world works, and I know kids love instantaneous gratification of saying they got an offer, and they should be proud of it because
they've gotten noticed.
They got noticed, but what people don't understand, and I've heard a lot of people like bag on these kids and say, oh, it's just not the right message, it's not this, it's not that. Most of the kids I know who are getting these offers or are getting a lot of offers, well, these kids go to school at 7 in the morning or the gym at 7 in the morning. And then they go to school and they actually put in a solid 6 to 8 hours. And then school's over and they either play a secondary sport or they're doing their primary sport, or they go back to the gym, or they'll play 7-on-7. So literally they've dedicated their entire being and purpose to getting an offer. So when somebody who is a high achiever achieves something, I have no problem if they put it out there. What I have a problem with is all these different types of offers, and I wish like the NCAA would just say, hey, if you're going to offer a kid, it has to be committable, otherwise you can't offer them. So, but like those are all the different types. And we haven't even talked about scholarships yet. There's like full ride scholarships, which I think I did some numbers on this last year. It's like 3% of actually all the football players in North America get a full ride.
2%.
2%, okay? Partial scholarships, which means that may not even be 50%. That could be, I'm going to pay for your books or any part thereof of your entire school cost. Preferred walk-on means, well, Katie Burt is that number 3 defensive end. We can't offer her a scholarship, but we like her so much that we're going to tell her, you know what? Why don't you just pay your own way in year 1? And when you progress or when you hit that point, which we know you're going to hit in year 2, we're going to give you an offer. So that's preferred walk-on. There's a recruited walk-on where it's like, hey, you can come if you want. I mean, I see some potential there.
They still have to try out or go to their summer training camp.
Got to go do everything, at which point you're basically, you were recruited, but you are still a walk-on, which means the life of a walk-on can be cruel and miserable. It really can. Or it could be the other part of that where you hit the jackpot and you were just a late bloomer and you go from walk-on to scholarship player to a professional athlete.
And then we see your story all over Facebook.
And we see her all over Facebook, which, like I said, I have no problem with these kids. Some of them are just like out of this world. It's insane. But most of these kids, and it's the old 90%, 10% rule, 90% of these are high achieving, super serious, ultra motivated teenage athletes who deserve what they get, or they've just been simply blessed with skills that they didn't really have to work a whole lot on. They just kind of showed up and went fast. But those are different things. Now, going back to the recruited walk-on, we talked about that. The unrecruited walk-on is, I don't know you. And that would probably be the bottom rung in whatever ladder you're looking at, just because they obviously didn't think anything of you, or they just simply didn't know about you.
Yeah, there's no official visit, no in-home coach visit, no signed LOI, no form of athletic aid. So basically nothing.
Which some schools, I don't know if it goes on as much as now as it used to. There used to be a lot of schools who had massive like walk-on programs. And they were usually like in-state schools like in Nebraska. Nebraska back in the I guess the 80s, 90s, when they were like a perennial powerhouse, they had this unbelievable walk-on program. And you're talking about like lots of kids would literally go to Nebraska simply for an opportunity to attempt to walk on. And it kind of, in some of those programs, if the walk-on program is carried right, or if it's actually sold in a certain manner, those walk-on players generally become the lunch bucket types on that team. And that whole kind of persona becomes part of the culture, which is very lunch bucket. So, I mean, which can be advantageous when you're talking about work ethic and just mental toughness and resiliency. So that would be the unrecruited walk-on. So, like, that whole thing, when I saw we were going to talk about this, I was like, man, we could spend an hour on that alone. We're going to come back to the committable, non-committable camp offer and then the all-new silent offer next week. But, yeah, that's kind of an introduction to it. And then just food for thought. According to 247 Sports, Southern Methodist University offered 199 players in the class of 2019.
It's just ridiculous.
199.
For 20 to 22 players per se, and they have 85 scholarship allotment.
Yeah.
So per class, 20 to 22.
20 to 22.
199 offers.
So, like, and you got to understand the schools, too, that maybe not be as high profile. This is an angle for them, too, because they're like, well, we offered him, and so did Alabama. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but SMU is nowhere close to anything in the Big 12 or anything in the SEC or anything like that. But the whole conversation is maybe your name gets dropped in the conversation with those power schools, right? So there's a whole strategy behind it. And I think this is one of the things that the NCAA at some point is probably going to have to put they're going to have to put a whole new chapter into the book, which is already the size of
5,000 pages.
5,000 pages. Because, well, you just can't, you cannot give competitive people this many resources and not have 25,000 rules, because it's just, you see what happens. And you know what? You can go all over the internet right now and Google search mass offers, non-committable offers. You can, and I would strongly suggest if you're a parent, I would look at all these things.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've had personal experiences with it where a young person, a young student athlete was offered, and then unbeknownst to them, the offer was yanked. And
coaching staff changes or
they signed the kid in front of them, and it's just like, yeah, sorry there, Ricky Bobby, you're out.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, and it could be really detrimental for a Canadian kid, because he gets an offer to some school down south that maybe is not a major college, or maybe it's an FCS school, and what those schools down there probably wouldn't realize is that up here there's solid options for these kids. They can get their tuition paid for.
Yeah.
They can get a lot of different things paid for. So I mean, and then all of a sudden they turn down these U Sports schools, which I'm sure would be more than happy to welcome them back. But they don't even know their offer's been yanked, which I'm sure happens to so many kids every year, especially when you have 23 scholarships to offer and you offer 199 players. How do you even keep track of that?
Offers breed more offers, so
I don't get it. Like that's like you've gone over by, what is that? That's like 80%.
I don't even know.
I'm not a good math person. All I know is that, like, so literally you're telling me Southern Methodist University had to call back like 169 players and tell them that, yeah, sorry, bud, our word doesn't matter. So that's how I see that anyway.
I don't think they really care, to be honest.
It's funny because people will say, oh, these people are going to get, like, they're going to allow them or teach them valuable lessons to all these young men, but it's kind of like they teach the ones that they get, and that's it. The rest of you, you're just out. So anyways, hopefully they change that and they put some rules on that, because I personally think it's completely ridiculous at this point. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it just seems ridiculous.
Do you think that a school should have to, because I read this in one of the other articles when I was doing the research on this, that, right now schools are not required to publicize who they offer and what it is. Do you think that would be one of the rules that would definitely slow all this down?
I think so. I think when people see who's getting offered by whom, but I think we're in the age of the social media age where I think every time a young student athlete gets an offer, it is blasted through the internet world.
But like an actual, like, I guess you could call it an offer registry,
a registry,
something like that.
Yeah,
I know
think
that
so.
would take a lot of manpower to put together, but
well, then you just have to log it.
Yeah.
But that would defeat the whole 199
for sure.
because, like, honestly, if I was a high-end prospect and there was like, well, I wouldn't care if I'm a high-end prospect. If I'm kind of mid-range and I see they have 20, there's like 20, I don't know, defensive ends have been offered in that class, I would kind of be like, okay, so where am I on that big board? You know? But like we're kind of bagging on the schools, but let's flip this around. If a solid prospect basically calls me back and says, I'm not coming to camp without an offer, what do you do?
The player can definitely take the reins into their own hands.
Yeah, the player's moving that too. Like he's moving that along. So it's really murky. If you actually look at, we looked at a bunch of numbers, and a lot of the over offering was happening in the SEC and in Texas, right? Which is like the most competitive football, I guess, would be in Texas, and the most competitive conference, arguably, is the SEC. So. But yeah, it's just a really murky world. We'll come back to the committable thing and the non-committable thing next week, though, and just kind of hash it out and go through it again as we explain some of the different types of not financial, because we talked financially this week from full ride to partial to preferred, but when we get into the other parts of scholarships. But yeah, it's a crazy world. And, you know, with us following everybody and talking to a lot of these prospects, we see all this firsthand multiple times a day.
Yeah, it's just really, it kind of turns your head around, for sure.
Oh, yeah, and we're like, I would say CanadaFootballChat.com, the amount of offers for the class of, say, 2020 now is probably getting to the mark of...
Well, we've never seen it this high.
Never seen it this high. It's probably 3 times higher. I'm just talking number of offers. I'm not talking about how many have been offered. That's even way up too, but it's not up as far as the total offer. The number of offers is absolutely ridiculous right now, and that's not even counting in like Division II and so on and so forth, because we don't generally track those kids unless they push it out. But yeah, it's been absolutely ridiculous, as has the number of athletes who are kind of stepping out of Canada right now and going down to the camps.
Yeah.
And that's going to even be more increased, I would say, next year when we run our combines. And we are now pretty dialed in with tracking football. And I would say tracking football is potentially, or is, exploding right now down in the NCAA.
Well, just today, 247 Sports put an article out on them. And their analytics and the data and the algorithms that they use. So
yeah, so like that is only going to go up. And I mean, I've watched it in professional sports, kind of when it came through the baseball world with the athletics, people fought it, and now it's just the way it's done in pretty much every professional sports league. So it's not surprising to me that now it's kind of permeated down to the college and will probably come like status quo. And I'll be honest with you, if you ever go on Tracking Football's website, you'll see how many athletes are on there.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you could find just about any type of athlete, but you can see what their athletic score is, which is the cool part.
It is cool. I mean, and that doesn't negate too, like you're gonna, the numbers are definitely important. But I mean, you can't measure the intangibles either if they're just a great football player.
That's just you. That's just the coach doing their due diligence.
Exactly.
So, like, all you want to do is get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And you want the analytics though, because a number never lies. So, like, when I look at, I don't know,
you can turn somebody into a football player. You can't make somebody run a 4.5.
No, like if you're fast, you're fast. Yeah. And I mean, I think everybody's starting to realize that now. I would say even people in Canada who used to think you just had to be a good football player and you might get a good. But people have to understand that it's all about athleticism, and it's not just about playing football in season. The other 8 months of the year, you need to become a finely tuned.
Yes. You need to be dialed in on the off-season program.
You better be playing a secondary sport, or you better be running track, and it's like that simple. Mm-hmm. And if you are serious about football, I would probably make the priority running track. Because the whole part of that analytics article today was like not just numbers, because a number doesn't lie. If you're what did it say? If you're gonna miss fast, right? So I can't teach somebody to be 6'6". Can I teach somebody who is slow to be really fast and athletic? I can get them a little quicker, but I'll take the super fast person. But anyways, that's a whole other thing to talk about.
Yeah, going off on a tangent there, Clint.
Oh, I was off on a tangent because this whole like over offering thing just drives me bananas.
So that's we're gonna take a break from that. Be sure to tune in next week to the part 2 of this podcast, because like Clint said, we're going to be going into a bit more detail about the non-technical term committable offers, non-committable, camp, silent. Who even knows what's going to come up next. So to hear about the next prospects, as we get into the top prospects of the junior college and U Sport players, sign up for our CFC Insider membership. Click the subscribe button on CanadaFootballChat.com, and there's a variety of levels that you can sign up